Okay, so premise question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Should Donald Trump okay. Here's my thing. Sorry, let me back up for just a second. I do think he should be immunized from assassinating his political enemy through SEAL Team 6 because there's so much process that goes into an order for assassination through a SEAL team. That I think it's relatively insulated, and I think there's ample opportunity for a 25th Amendment or an impeachment. And second, I don't think that that the military branches are unthinking, rule following monsters. We saw Trump's cabinet lying to him about his own military as commander in chief. Like, so we think that they're going to just blindly assassinate his political rival during an election year, but like they're lying to him about troop deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan in 2018. Like, I don't buy it. I think there's a practicality issue. So I think he should be immunized from that. The option, of course, is always impeachment and then a trial for treason. I mean, once you impeach, you can try for treason. But yeah, so what do you so I think he should be able to order the thing. I think that presidential immunity as a function of the separation of powers for official acts as president or anything within the quote unquote outer penumbra or perimeter of official acts should be the standard, because you always have impeachment. And once you have impeachment, that immunity is pierced immediately. If you successfully impeach a president, their immunity goes away and you can prosecute them criminally after the impeachment is done, right?
Well, that is a slightly dissatisfying answer, just because.
Why?
Well, I appreciate that, Nick. I was literally in the process of answering your question.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm doing the active communication thing. I sometimes do that. I literally didn't mean anything by it. Here, I'm listening. Go ahead.
Okay. So it's slightly dissatisfying because while I appreciate that in principle, like there should be process that would prevent the president from doing things along the lines that you mentioned, if the president were to, order things that happened that shouldn't have happened because the process wasn't fulfilled, because maybe there were rogue members of the military or rogue members of the FBI, he orders the arrest of various members of the the Congress or whatever just because he wants to, and there are people that do it because they're just serving the president, that there should be some mechanism other than Congress impeaching them, because if SEAL Team 6 follows his order, even if it's an illegal order, I mean, we might be able to prosecute SEAL Team 6 for the illegal order, but it just feels a bit dissatisfying that if they order like the assassination, that maybe members of Congress won't want to impeach him because maybe they think they're next because the president's gone rogue. There's some sort of problem in there somewhere.
See, I disagree, because I think if a president has the political capital to arrest Congress, then Congress must be so far gone. The president must be so fucking popular and must be the manifestation of the political will of the country to such a degree, right? Like,
so I don't know. You're getting quite close to that king thing you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah, no, I think the president is the fucking king. Absolutely. I said that unironically.
Okay, fair enough.
Do you think he's not?
Oh God, no.
You don't think the president is a 4-year king?
Oh hell no. No.
Why not?
Well, for starters, he only has the powers of the executive branch, so there's that, as opposed to the king having legislative and judicial power, which the president does not have.
Okay, so let's say he's the king stripped of legislative power. So he doesn't have lawmaking power, but he is still the king, right?
No, because he's constrained by law.
What law is he constrained by?
The laws of Congress, because they have the right to. The president has the ability to execute the laws that Congress passes.
Right. So Article 1, Section 8. But he actually has ability beyond that, doesn't he, though? Because he's the sole organ of foreign relations. He has the ability to enter into executive agreements with other executives as in the interest of the country's foreign relations, which have the same effect, legal effect of a treaty. They just don't have the backing of the Senate, right?
They don't have the legal effect of a treaty. I mean, because the
wait a minute. Yeah, no, the president can enter into an executive agreement without consent of the Senate. That is not a treaty. That is legally binding upon the country as if it were a treaty. That's actually established jurisprudence. He's the sole organ of foreign relations as a plenary authority. It's not even questionable by the Supreme Court. So if Trump goes to Kim Jong-un, for example, he says, actually, you know what? We're going to engage in trade with you. We're going to do this for every skinny Korean you send to us. We're going to send you a skinny Mexican who crossed our border.
Yeah.
And they're going to reshingle your roofs. They're going to do your gardens. And all of the skinny Koreans you send to us, we're going to have them do math and build missiles. Like, he could do that. That's legally binding. He's the sole organ of foreign relations. And if Congress were to challenge him and go to the Supreme Court and be like, he can't do that, they'd be like, no, sole organ test. Does the president have the authority to do this? Does this encroach on an enumerated power in Article 1? And if the answer is no to both of those, then he wins, right? They don't even ask the question. It's scary, isn't it?
That doesn't sound right, but it's been a while since I've looked at
Obama,
the president's power.
Obama issued 1 million green cards because
he can't do that.
He did that, though, with a Republican Congress who didn't win when they challenged it. Remember that? Because of course he could, because he used it under the foreign relations power of the executive. He said, yeah, actually, our foreign relations with Mexico require me to issue these 1 million green cards out for amnesty to these people. Of course I can do that. He won. Obama did that. Oh, man.
I don't remember that.
Let's see this. Obama.
Maybe you can remind me. Maybe I'm
going to try. Maybe I'm retarded. Trying to find this. I remember when he did it, of course he could do it. That was a crazy thing. And it's why the Biden camp.
How does issuing green cards have anything to do with our foreign relations? Because green cards is a status within the United States. How does that have anything to do with our foreign relations?
Isn't that great? Because have you read the Mexican president's discussions about the Texas border enforcement?
I can't say that I have. No.
Oh, he talks about it as a literal foreign relations issue.
Well, the border is a foreign relations issue, obviously.
Right. Mexicans flooding across the Texas border is somehow a national foreign relations issue with Mexico that is to be resolved by Biden.
By granting them legal status in the United States?
Sure, why not?
Because it is not in compliance with the immigration law.
But
and if you're right, then why doesn't Biden just do it?
He can. They're overriding the Texas immigration law, right? Not through supremacy. Like, because they're not winning on federal supremacy. The Texas immigration law doesn't impact or interfere with the federal enforcement of the Immigration Naturalization Act. It doesn't impact federal border enforcement. So instead, they've started shifting and pivoting very subtly. Biden and the Mexican president are both talking about the foreign relations between the two countries of allowing the border crossings to continue. It's amazing because that is how it works. So let's see. Obama goes it alone, shielding up to 5 million immigrants from deportation. After 6 years of often bitter back and forth with congressional Republicans, the issue of immigration, President Obama announced he has decided to go it alone by temporarily shielding up to 5 million immigrants from being deported. Primetime speech of the country. Of course he can do this. This is the Dreamers. And remember when Trump tried to undo the Dreamers, remember? And the Supreme Court said, no, you can't. Can't undo it.
Yeah, I forget. There was some technical reason why he didn't do it.
It's effectively it's promissory estoppel, effectively, right? Like, because like, no, these people are acting in reliance on this promise that the U.S. government made through the president, And just because you don't want to do it doesn't mean you can undo it because they acted into their detriment on this this relief. I mean, it's not exactly promissory estoppel, but it's the principle, right?
I have faded to the point where I need to go to sleep.
Oh, damn it!
Can continue. I mean, it's 1:30. I'm tired.
I talked to you for too long about sandwiches, Kurt. I'm sorry.
I did my best, but yeah, it's late and I'm tired.
Okay, hold on real quick. I want to ask you just a couple quick questions about presidential immunity, and I'll let you go.
Okay.
And then I do want to continue this discussion. And next time I missed you. I want to talk to you about stupid shit first. Next time we'll talk about more important stuff from the get-go. But should the president have some degree of criminal immunity?
Some degree, sure. I would agree to that.
What is the extent of criminal immunity a president should enjoy?
I don't know.
What, like, if you had to just ballpark it, non-binding, whatever, like you're just like, off the top of my head, penis in my head, here's what I think the president should enjoy immunity from. It's tough, isn't it?
Okay, I would say my first thought is like Youngstown Steel, where they talk about like the inherent powers of the president. Like even if Congress passes laws that says like the president can't do that, what the president can do, notwithstanding, is inherent power. So I would say that he would have criminal immunity insofar as it would extend to only his inherent power. Yeah. In sort of that Youngstown Steel idea.
Okay, so you say official acts of president should be immune from criminal prosecution, but it should be an official act. Maybe not as far as the civil, like outer perimeter, but you're saying an official act of president, right?
Yeah, well, it has to be an act of the president because if it's not an act of the president, then that's for sure.
So would you do like
the office of the president, perhaps more properly, not the president, the office of the president,
an intermediate or a strict scrutiny approach? Like, so an intermediate, a rational basis approach is like, is this rationally related to a government, a legitimate government interest? We go not legitimate presidential interest, but do we go a important government interest, which would be intermediate? Or do we go a compelling presidential interest, which would be strict? What do you think? Strict scrutiny or intermediate scrutiny for the president? I don't think rational basis is up your alley.
If it's within his inherent power, rational basis might work.
Okay, so his inherent power is vague, right? Because you even said, like, the first line of Article 2 and the only defining characteristic is the executive authority shall be invested in a president of the United States. Or shall be vested, not invested. This isn't fucking.
Yes, but again, but when we're talking about like inherent power,
right?
We're assuming like a world where like Congress basically has passed no laws. And has basically tried to actively forbid the president from doing so, because that's what Youngstown Steel was talking about, right? The three categories: he's acting in concert with Congress.
This is Frankfurt, right? Like this,
Frankfurt, yeah.
Frankfurt's test on presidential security is president acting alone, president acting with Congress being neutral, and president acting with Congress being in favor. Yeah. He's at his strongest, right?
Yeah, so like that category where he's acting alone, just inherent power, he could have immunity with respect to that inherent power, I would think.
But what is that inherent power? Because in 1791, when we go, the executive authority is vested in a president of the United States. And then we, in brackets, we add subject to the authority given to the legislative branch in Article 1 and the judicial branch in Article 3. No, it's a weird thing though. Because I genuinely struggle with this because Article 1 says the legislative authority the legislative power as defined herein shall be vested in a House of Representatives and a Senate. Article 2 says the executive authority shall be vested in the President of the United States. That means we go, okay, what is the executive authority in 1790? Holy fuck, that's a king. That's why I say he's a king for 4 years. And the check on it is the Democratic Republic election of the next king. And it is also the powers, the legislative lawmaking powers taken away from him and given to a legislature. And then judicial powers taken away from the Star Chamber of England and given to an actual judicial branch with their own thing. But the amount of authority that they have over the president in over the Article 2 powers is very minimal. That's what bothers me. It's been done a certain way for a long time, but that's not what's written down. So that's all. That's all I'm getting at. I think it's way broader than people think.
I'm completely exhausted, Nick.
I know, brother. I'm going to let you go.